A judge is pulled from the bench for 6 months without pay. That was the punishment for Utah Judge Michael Kwan for making anti-Trump comments both in his courtroom and on social media. Kwan has sat on the bench for roughly 2 decades. The Supreme Court of Utah cites multiple occasions that Judge Kwan made politically charged comments. One example came on the day of President Trump's inauguration. Kwan wrote on Facebook, "Welcome to governing. Will you dig your heels in and spend the next 4 years undermining our country's reputation and standing in the world? Question mark. Will you continue to demonstrate your inability to govern and political incompetence?" Joining me now to discuss this is CNN legal analyst and defense attorney and former federal prosecutor Shan Wu. Shan, good to see you.
Good to see you, Martin.
So what do you think? Is this suspension warranted?
I don't think it is, and I'm going to divvy it up a little bit. I think a judge's comments in his courtroom, I think they can pretty much say what they want, as long as it's not influencing their sentencing or some decision they're making. In D.C. and other places, I've been in many courtrooms where the judges are making jokes, and sometimes they're political jokes. I think as long as it doesn't influence the decision, that should be off limits. 2 other areas he was reprimanded for, though, I think are problematic, and the judicial ethics canons, they vary from state to state, but they basically say judges can't do anything that makes them look like they're political or that they are not impartial. So he also made these Facebook postings, and he also held an office with a advocacy organization of Chinese Americans. Those, I think, probably shouldn't be doing that. I mean, I think you're holding yourself out with an advocacy organization. Social media is very powerful. People know you're a judge. So those, I think, are problematic. But the remarks in the courtroom, I think that's fine.
Well, and that is something new. I mean, social media, because, of course, if you do keep it to the courtroom, not too many people will hear it. But if you post it, the whole world does. Has this happened before?
You know, I'm not aware of it happening very often. I actually clerked for a great Texas judge, Jerry Buckmeyer, who wrote a humor column for the Texas Monthly, but he mostly kept it to lawyer jokes, actually. There are cases where judges are targeted for being biased or being asked to recuse themselves, but usually the judges are pretty careful about the actual politics of things. Now, this is a municipal court judge. He's been there for a long time. It's not as though he's ruling on constitutional issues or federal cases, so it smells a little bit questionable to me. He's obviously in a conservative state. He seems like he's liberal, and also I read a newspaper article that indicated that Utah has the least diverse bench in the entire country, so I think it's a little bit questionable.
What do you think? Will he make it back from this kind of exile, if that's what it is? I mean, if you're sort of thrown out there for 6 months without pay, do you think he's going to come back and take the job over again?
You know, I don't know what his decision will be, but he's been there for quite some time, so I think he'll probably come back, and you know, he'll probably have to tone it down a little bit. I mean, I think it's an interesting question as to whether you're going to see some repercussions of this, whether Trump and his team start to use some of these techniques as well.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the president does make points as to who is appointed under what administration, and this seems to play into it. And as much as you say that you have heard it before from judges in a courtroom, as a guy who only goes in to hear testimony usually in criminal cases, this is like, wow, I didn't know that they were so vocal. Do you think this could hurt the public perception?
You know, if it was very well publicized in a bigger case, I think it might affect that. But I think, you know, anyone who's been in courts, both civil as well as criminal, hear judges make jokes all the time. In some of the bigger cases, just in the Manafort case, we heard a lot about Judge Ellis's courtroom demeanor. I am concerned, though, with, as many lawyers are, with the president's comments trying to say that judges who were appointed by the Obama administration, for example, perhaps are biased. And you know, it's a short step from there to them actually seeking to actually recuse judges like that, which I think would be very problematic.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to bear watching on this one. Shan Wu, it's nice to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Up next.